If Slawn isn't one of the greatest contemporary artists of our time, he's on his way. At one point in time, when Slawn was on the come up and had bits of work here and there, he asked Virgil Abloh for a job. Virgil told him that he didn't need a job from him and that he needed to figure out how to sell himself. It took some time for Slawn to digest what Virgil said, but eventually he realized that the job that he was searching for was right in front of him all along, in the form of his ideas, creativity, and artistry that he could sell in the form of paintings and other physical items like clothing, skateboards, and plates. Slawn has been selling himself ever since. His journey is interesting because he was born in Nigeria, where he was already immersed within the art and skating community over there before coming to London. Whilst in Nigeria, he worked at a skate shop called Waffles and Cream, where Slawn and his friends Leo and Onyedi would make art, skate, and make films together. And they went on to co-found their clothing company, Motherland. He helped mold the skate community in Lagos and was amongst the first skaters in Nigeria. Skateboarding was the foundation for him and it directed him towards art. The reason he moved to London was actually because of Skepta, who convinced him to make the move. This was after Skepta used Slawn's skate shop for a pop-up event in 2018. In the early days, Slawn would hand his artwork to people at parties and use those interactions to build his social media presence. It would be gritty and DIY style promo. There were times when Slawn didn't even come across like he wanted to be an artist. It was like his curiosity and the ideas he was getting was forcing him to put his pieces into the world. It felt more like a hustle for him. Also, he didn't understand why people liked his work. You can tell that he makes art for himself and then lets everyone experience it. If you like it, cool. But if you don't, that's not his problem. I feel like that's what makes him great as an artist. He has that rebellious spirit that you really can't teach. It's raw, unpolished, but it connects because it's true to him. Slawn doesn't see himself as an artist because he never went to school for it, but he really is an artist. His real life experiences was his school. It was his education. He said art is like breathing and that he does it to pass time and to stay busy. He also prefers to talk to friends whilst he paints rather than in silence. Slawn embraces the imperfections in his work, which is one of his strengths, to embrace minimalism, being focused more so on putting his work out there in its rawest form rather than trying to make the most beautiful pieces. It's a Yeezus way of thinking rather than a beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy way of thinking. Even though I feel like sometimes he taps into that beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy way of thinking at times too. Slawn created a fight club so people can box in order to win one of his art pieces, providing entertainment and increasing the value of his art pieces in the process. This was a creative way of giving away his art pieces, and it actually showed how much people wanted them.
I'll defend it!
His artwork is driven by the DNA of clowns, and there's something about his work that feels like pop culture animation characters that haven't been given a name yet, and probably never will. They don't need one. There's a lot of emotion and energy that you get when you look at his art pieces. There's a story that's being told, but we're all the directors of the story if we want to be.
One thing about Slawn's art is that he's able to really maximize the expressions of the characters that he makes and really make them super animated. He's able to really bring out the most of a character's expressions. One thing I like about what Slawn does as well is he's able to take like a public figure, a celebrity, and really make you look at them from just a more extreme point of view, really bringing out their personality, their features, and just making them even more animated and bringing out a different side of them, bringing out more emotion.
Slawn would be considered anti-art because he sells his art to high-profile collectors with high net worths. But then he also gives out his work for free through things like mass giveaways, like what he did recently, giving away free paintings to the public in London for his Once Upon a Time exhibition, where people showed up in huge volumes. as well as just general public releases. He doesn't lean into exclusivity and allows his work to be accessible to all. That's what puts him in his own lane. He puts his art in the clouds as well as on the ground level for people to be able to touch and feel it. He said he wants to be like Lego, who have extensive pieces for the more high-end crowd, as well as having pieces that are affordable. He wants to be in every household. That's why he sells high for people that can buy at a high price, and he sells low for the people that can only afford the low prices. Andy Warhol said that selling things and making money is an art within itself. And this is an example of Slawn mastering the art of connectivity at every level of his customer base. And also just having that empathy and social awareness. He doesn't believe that this strategy will devalue his art because he can be LV and he can be H&M and Zara at the same time. He can have an expensive art piece, but he can also sell a £10 painting if he wants to. I liked how he said on his Takeover interview that if you're making art, don't be so romantic with selling an art piece for a specific amount and having a specific number. Focus on the art you can sell and try and sell loads of those to get the same number. Basically, just find ways to get to the amount that you want to make and don't worry about having the perfect path to get there. I think comparisons can be made with artists like Keith Haring and Kenny Scharf, because both of these artists were pioneers of having an approach to their work which was like, look, I'm going to put my art, my work in the most public places where my message can be consumed and connected to the everyday lives of people that see it. This to me is arguably the highest form of connection and intimacy that an artist can provide, by bringing their art to where the people are and not being afraid to be disruptive with their approach and with the actual art itself. Keith Haring would use unused advertising panels in New York City subway stations as canvases, where he would draw with chalk. These works weren't commissioned, but he was able to turn the subway into his first gallery. He painted on city streets and public walls, in schools, hospitals, and community centers. Also designed and painted the Pop Shop, a retail space in New York, to make art accessible to everyone. Like Keith Haring, Kenny Scharf places art on city walls, streets, cars, TVs, refrigerators, and other everyday objects. Some of Slawn's work taps into that raw and challenging energy that came from that 80s New York art scene. Slawn has painted a double-decker bus, a Cessna airplane, a helicopter, a Bentley Turbo R, a 1974 Alfa Romeo, and Bentley Continental GT Supersport, watches and more. They have all blurred the lines between art and pop culture.
But this is what it's about, putting your creative DNA in the most public spaces and just allowing people to experience it on a day-to-day.
And obviously Slawn is on his path to continue to do that. Like, he isn't even in his prime yet.
It's a new day. New era.
One of the great things about Slawn as an artist is that, again, he embraces imperfections in his work. He has a demo tape, Jesus, Life of Pablo, when Kanye was still updating the album after its release type of approach. He would leave a mark on his art if he wanted to. He's all about the rawness of his work. It's like how Prince would leave mistakes in his songs because that's where the raw emotion was captured. If you take away the mistakes, you take away the raw emotion. And then you weaken the connection between the music and the fans.
Hey, we going commercial.
See, Slawn has built himself up now to be a strong commercial artist, and he's done some great commercial work. Early on, he had a debut exhibition in September 2021 at Truman Brewery. I think it's always great when a contemporary artist can design a music album cover, because that album now has several layers that people can tap into, and it also opens the door for the album cover to be an art piece when looked at on its own. Like when Takashi Murakami did the Graduation cover, or when George Kondo did the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy cover, it brings music and art worlds together. Slawn did the artwork for Odu Model's
Cool
mixtape, which was a great body of work.
There's some Basquiat vibes going on here too.
It's a sick cover. Slawn said when he thinks of
Cool,
undeniable, hefty, and unapologetic comes to mind. That's what it means to him. Slawn's art appeared in this year's FA Cup final between Man City and Crystal Palace at Wembley Stadium. Yeah, this is mad. And yeah, this is what Virgil was talking about. The main locations were the pitch banner, where his design covered the pitch banner before kickoff, allowing Slawn's signature style to increase the anticipation for the final. In the players' tunnel, players walked through the tunnel, surrounded by his expressive murals. He made custom artwork on the winners and player of the match champagne bottles used during the celebration, which is crazy because his work will forever be connected to these celebrations. Like, his art will forever be part of Crystal Palace's historic win. His art also appeared on trophy podium and the ceremony areas. I want to see him do the Champions League, World Cup, African Cup of Nations, Olympics, Euros, Super Bowl. I think he can touch all of those things. He can place his art and creativity all over these events. When that happens, so many dots will get connected. Slawn designed the trophy for the Brit Awards in 2023. He created 3 different styles. Each head had a different meaning: opportunity, gratitude, and celebration. He had a recent sick clothing collab with Trapstar as well. He created 9 art pieces for current Real Madrid defender David Alaba. This was very personable and are pieces that I believe are in his home. So the pieces were based on religion, family, football, music, and self-portrait, his kids, and his Nigerian roots. Slawn had his first major London exhibition at Saatchi Yates Gallery. This was from October 12th to 20th last year, 2024. Slawn was commissioned by curator Jimmy Howson, the founder of Spot Collective. This is like a hub for car enthusiasts and creatives, to paint the nose of a 1974 Alfa Romeo 2000 GTV. You got Slawn's collab with Nike for the Air Max 90 Speckle collection. The inflatable sculptures inspired by Slawn's signature style was made by Glow Inflatables. There was a black one that was placed on the Truman Brewery Bridge in Brick Lane, and a white one that was placed in the nearby car park, with both sculptures having the Air Max 90 speckles on. These sculptures just feel like larger than life characters, and you can see Slawn's artistic DNA being on show. He's done way more commercially, but these are the standout things for me. Slawn said that his greatest achievement is being a father to his kids. Art for him is just a tool for ideas that he wants to share and release into the world. The real art is the time he spends with his girl and his kids. When it comes to his art though, I'm sure he has a lot more aspirations and heights to reach. He can definitely make a lot of different everyday products and really redefine different aspects of lifestyle in our time through his art. So I'm looking forward to seeing more things that he can do and more boundaries that he can push. He can live in different worlds. He can be up there in the clouds on a luxury level, but he can also be on the ground level and on the street level, whilst connecting the dots across all of those areas. But it looks like he took Virgil's advice and really figured out how to sell himself.